Hello everyone and welcome. In this tutorial series we're going to be taking a look at Inventory Cog 1.12 and we're going to be creating the new master demo Inventory and Stats RPG from scratch. I'm going to be doing this live with you, and the purpose of this tutorial is to give you a deep dive into each of the different components and how they work. And of course the purpose of the demo is to show off all of the different abilities of Inventory Cog in a single place. We've got a nice checklist here of different things to do. We may add to that as we go on. I may also need to create 3D and 2D assets as we proceed, so there may be some hard breaks. But for now, let's dive in. I've created this new scene as well as a bunch of models that we're going to need. We're also using the new character cog coming from Null Save. It's not out yet. It's going to be included as a light and preview version. And the reason for including this is the old character controller that was with the demos was growing in size because it was shared and it had a bunch of conditional compiler references, and having a plugin based character controller gets rid of that and cleans up the items. So we're going to start by going into null save examples shared, and I'm going to drag up our base character here. I'm going to unpack it and go ahead and rename it. Actually, I'll just rename it player. I'm going to tag it as a player as well. I'm going to bring in the default player animator controller that we have. And now I'm going to add in the Unity character controller. Make a couple of adjustments here. We'll increase the slope limit, decrease the skin size. Okay, that's all set. Now for the character cog. And the only plugin that we're going to use at the moment is the Unity character controller movement plugin. So now that we're all set up, we'll be able to move around with that character. So now let's dive in and start creating all the different stats that we're going to use. So we'll create the stats cog. And remember, these are per character, and even though there are scriptable objects, those are instantiated per character. So if you had a set of stats like health, attack, defense that you wanted to share between 20 different enemies, you can do that without having to worry about one getting hit and all of them taking damage. They are instantiated per object. So let's take a quick look. Here is the old StatsCog editor, which you can still use. In this one, in order to create stats and things like that, you would have to right-click, create, talk, StatsCog, and then select your item, and you have to do that for each one. Version 1.12 introduces this new stats and effects editor that allows you to do everything in place. So let's take a quick look at this and set everything up. So before we do anything else, we're going to need to be able to control the player's level, which is how we're going to affect things like health and attack and things like that. So let's start off with, we'll do XP, and we'll put that in the general category. We'll start off with 0, and we'll have a maximum of 1,000,000. So we'll hit create and add. Each one of these tabs has their own folder associated with them. When you do it the first time, it'll be the root of your assets. Once you create something, though, it'll remember your folder choice. So I'm going to create a new folder under stats for player, so I can keep that separate. And I'll create XP. And then we'll do level as well. And we'll start off level 1. And we're going to do incrementing on this. So we're going to do when XP is greater than or equal to XP to level, we'll add 1 to the current level value. So next we'll need XP to level, which tells us how much XP to go up to the next level. And that will be level times level plus 9 plus level divided by 2. And the maximum and the value will always be the same. Create and add that. Now, if you're going to use a progress bar, you also need to have the minimum so that you can reset that back to the 0 display point when you level up. So we'll do XP level base, and that will be level minus 1 times, and we could do level minus 1 plus 9, or we can simplify that as just level plus 8, plus level minus 1 divided by 2. And again, same for the value and maximum. Okay, so now we've got everything we need for leveling up. Let's go ahead and create health now. Put that in the combat category. And let's say that's 30, 30 plus level times, what, 7.5. It's the maximum value. Actually, we shouldn't put that equation in there. Otherwise, it will always be that value, right? So we'll set the value to 0, but we'll also say start with maximum value. We won't generate or increment. Let's do an attack. And we'll just leave that as a straight value for now. Do the same for defense. We'll come back and edit these later as we decide exactly how we're going to use them. Do strength. So I think we're going to move some objects or do pickup or something like that, or use it for equipping items. May not use it. I'm going to put it in there for now. And finally, we're going to do stamina. And let's make that 15 times level plus 9.3. And again, we'll put that over in the max value, start with max value. We'll regenerate, let's say 3 seconds after the last time the stamina went down. We'll start increasing the stamina by, let's do, oh, you know what, let's have fun with it. Let's increase it by level times 0.75. That way your stamina will regenerate faster the higher level you are. I like that. Okay. So there's all of our base stats. We don't have any stat effects that we're going to use yet, but we're going to go ahead and create the list anyway. So again, new tab means we need to retell it the folder for this tab. And we'll call it player effect list. And now that we have a list, we can create effects right here and automatically add it to the list. And the reason that we have, by the way, the separate effect list is computation-wise, if there's a bunch of effects that are just automatically immune to certain enemies or NPCs, it's easiest just to exclude them altogether rather than look for them in the list every time. So finally in combat, we're going to go ahead and select health as our health stat. Damage in brackets represents the calculated damage of a hit after resistances and weaknesses are applied to it. So in most cases, this value shouldn't change. If you have something special that you want to do, like incorporate another stat into it or something like that, then you could modify it here. Hit direction tolerance. In version 1.11, I think, we introduced directional hits. This is the tolerance on the radius to tell it whether it's front left, front right, front center. We'll leave that for now. We're not going to be immune from hits in any sort of direction, but we will be immune from damage for 2 seconds after we take damage. Okay, so I think that does it for stats. Now we're going to add an inventory cog. And to control the inventory cog, we're also going to need an inventory DB. The DB is global so that it can be used by all characters, not even characters. It can also be used by containers and things like that. And this just lists every single item category, item, crafting category, and crafting recipe. And this too now has a new editor window. Previously, just like Stats Cog, you'd have to right click and create each one of these objects manually. Now you can do it quickly and automatically through the system. So we're going to have a couple of different categories. Inventory Cog has the ability to do skin meshes as equip items, and also to replace the entire skin of your character. So that's something that we definitely want to show off in the demo. So we're going to create a skins category. Do I have textures for these yet? No, I don't. Okay, I'll come back with that later. We'll display it. It's going to be unlocked, and that's about all we're going to care about. Okay, so it looks like we had an issue right here. So that's one of the reasons that we do these deep dives, is to find bugs where they are in the system. So we're going to pause here for a quick second while I go investigate this error, and then we will return right into this. All right, we're back. So that was a quick little error. What happened was, unlike in this inspector window, trying to add something here actually resulted in the categories being null and not instancing themselves. So skins was still created, but it wasn't added to the list. And to verify that this worked correctly, that the fix is working properly, what we're just going to do is we're going to create another item while this is still null to make sure that that works. So next we'll make equipment. Okay, and that added, so now we can drag and drop the skins that we previously made. And let's see, what else are we going to need? So we're going to need quest items. And again, I don't have any icons for these yet, but I will come back and add those in. So quest, and also we'll need components for crafting. And I think that might be a good start. So the one thing I am going to do is I'm going to go back into the equipment here. I'm going to give it a max number of slots. And that'll be, let's say 50. So a decent number. But then I'm also going to have locking slots. I'm going to base that off the stats value. And that's going to be, yeah, we'll name it unlocked slots. Perfect. So we'll save that, and we're going to go back to the stats and effects editor, which we have to select our player. And we'll create a new unlocked stats, or unlocked slots, and this will be inventory. And the value, so the max is 50, right? That was what we made the unlocked slots. And then the value will be, say, level times 5. Now, normally this could just easily go over 50, but StatsCog will lock this. So even though your equation can go above 50, the maximum value won't. Okay, so now we've got the unlocked slots to go through. Now we get to go and create some items. So this is where the fun bit begins. So we'll go here into our models and we'll just go through them in order. So I want a couple of items to show off skill slots, which is a new concept in 1.12, which allows an item to unlock a skill such as casting a spell or throwing a bomb or things like that. So that's what we're going to do first is we're going to use this bomb. We're just going to go through in order. I'm going to bring this bomb right up here into the auto create prefabs, and I'm going to want a loot item so that I can pick it up. I don't need an equip item because it's not going to be physically equipped. I don't know whether or not we'll do a preview for this one, so I'll just go ahead and create it. And actually, you know what? I think we need another category. We need a skills category, right? Okay. Okay, so let's go into here and bring in our skills. We'll make this a skill. We'll display it in the list. We're not going to change any animator mods. Just name it bomb for now. It's going to auto create our preview, as you can see here. No extra stats or custom tags for now. And I'm going to create a new folder for each one of these, because what this is going to do for us is it's going to create multiple items at once. So if I go under items and bomb, we're going to see not only do we have the inventory item, but we also have the game objects for looting. And if we open that up real quick, so what we can see is it took our base object and it added a box collider as a trigger and a loot item to it. And it also populated that loot item. So when we loot this, we'll be looting a bomb, we'll be looting a count of 1, and the box collider has auto size for us. Okay, so let's get back to inventory VB. We've got several more to go. So next we're going to do bracelet, and that's going to be an equipment. And we'll call it armor. We can drop it, so we're going to do, let's bring the bracelet up here. We need a loot item, an equip item, and an item preview. Okay. We'll allow custom naming. This is also new in version 1.12. This allows the player, if you so choose, to rename their items. It's not going to be stackable. It will be equipable. It won't be storable. And let's do... So we'll be creating the equip points in a moment. I think it'll be left lower arm. We can just verify that real quick. So there's the dynamic creation is available for you, as long as it's a humanoid skeleton, which this is. So yeah, left lower arm is what we'll be creating for that. Okay, so equip point, left lower arm. Okay, we won't change any animator mods for this. Display name is going to be bracelet. And this is going to be one that we're going to have to modify after we create it, because we are going to want attachments. But this this editor can't create the attachment slots for us. We won't do any repair. We might do breakdown. We'll come back to that one. But we will do stats. So, but we haven't created any stats yet, so we'll just go ahead and create this for now. Again, when we come back and edit it. Oh, I forgot to create a new folder. Okay, so let's look at the bracelet here. Specifically, I want to look at the equip item. So the equip item is where you will add your, I wonder why I have an O1. Do I have? Okay, so this must be something that I did wrong with the model. Yeah, okay. That is exactly something I did wrong with the model. Not a big deal. Just delete one from each of these, and I'll probably fix the model before release. Okay, so here we are into the equip item, and this is where we're going to put our attach points. So we're going to create an empty object, and we're going to call it slot 1, and we'll add an attach point, and we'll call it, well, actually we'll call it gem slot. How's about that? I like that better. We're going to put gems in it. And we'll reduce the gizmo scale there a little bit. Okay, so it's dead center, but I believe the gems for this I offset from the center, so that should be right. Otherwise, we can come back later and move this attach point. All right, so now if we go and look directly into this item, now we have the attach available, and let's look at it in the inventory DB editor. So we'll edit selected, and we'll do in category. So that's right, we'll need another category for that as well. So we didn't create an attachments. So we'll do gems. And, or no, we'll call it attachments. Okay. So now we can go back here. It remembers where we were. It remembers that we were editing. So we'll put in the attachments category. And there we go. So now anything that is an attachment and belongs to the attachments category can be attached to this object. And for the slots, we're going to populate it from the object. So it was automatically able to go into the object and find the slots that I wanted. You don't have to physically equip. So you could create an empty slot that didn't use an attach point. That is okay to do. We won't be doing it in any of these demos though. So now we'll do a couple of items based on bracelet gems. So we'll bring that in. We'll need a loot item, an item preview, and an attach item. So this is going to be an attachments category. It's going to be an attachment. We'll allow it to drop. We'll display it in list. No custom naming. We'll allow stacking on this. And let's make this one be a sapphire. We'll modify the parent name. This attach object should be displaying that it's auto creating, so that's another small item that we'll need to fix. Not a big deal. And we'll do of stamina. So what's going to happen is if I attach this to the bracelet, it will now say bracelet of stamina. And we'll allow it to attach to the gem slot. No repair, no breakdown. We will give it effects as well. We'll have to come back to that. So let's go ahead and go back to the player real quick and get some effects here. So let's do, so the bracelet itself, we'll give it a defense. So we won't show this in the list of modifiers. We'll just sort of hide that. It's going to be beneficial, not stackable. Actually, it is stackable, right? Because we can have more than one bracelet on. And do this, and we'll do, we'll target defense. We'll increase the maximum value of defense by 15 for the entire time that we have this equipped. And then we'll also instantly increase the value by 15 once we equip it. And then for the sapphire, let's see what stats do we have. Let's do stamina. Okay, and I think that's what we actually said for that item too, right? Of stamina, yes, okay. So beneficial, default category, gem, stamina. We won't show that in the list either. And we'll do the same sort of thing. That's fun. We could do a regen stamina as well. So now if we go back and edit the bracelet, we can go into our stats and drag in the bracelet defense. And we can go to sapphire and drag in the gem stamina. Okay. So that's a look at how to get everything done. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time just creating these items in front of you on camera. But what I am going to do is real quick show how to do the equip points and the attach points and how to size everything up. And this is enough for us to get started with. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the player and I'm going to create the different attach points that or equip points that we're going to use. So we're going to use a left-hand equip point, and it's automatically going to create and show that to us. And I want to move that down a little bit. I think that's pretty good. And we'll create a right-hand equip point. Same thing. And we'll create a left lower arm. This is where we'll put the bracelet. Definitely want to move that way down. Check it from the side. Looks good. Do the same for the right lower arm. And you could change these equip point names as well if you wanted. This is how you address them. In this case, I'm just going to leave them as they were created. But that does remind me that I want to have multiple possible equip points for the bracelets. I'm going to edit that real quick. And in the equip spot, I'm going to add a right lower arm as well, so it can equip to either one of those. Okay. So now to sort of set the scaling and positioning of everything, I'm going to bring in the bracelet equip, and I'm going to press play here. And then I'm going to go ahead and manually put that onto the left lower arm. And when you equip something through Inventory Cog, it will automatically reset the position, rotation, and scale, which is why it creates a sub-item. Okay, so we can see this definitely needs to be updated a little bit, so we're going to modify the child. Let's go ahead and pause, update the rotation. Okay, that looks pretty good. So what we're going to do is we'll drag this and replace our prefab with it. So now in the future, when it's added through Inventory Cog, there we go. So the next thing that we want to do is we also want to check out this gem slot. So I'm going to go into the sapphire and I'm going to bring up the sapphire attach item. And I'm going to throw that into the gem slot. So obviously a large change is needed there as far as size goes. And we'll just go ahead and hide the player real quick so it's easier to look at this. Oops. Okay, that looks good. So again, we'll replace the attachment. And then we can go ahead and just sort of drag that up again. And there we go. Okay. So that's what it'll look like once we have the sapphire attached. Let's look at skinning real quick as well. So in order to do the skins, we're going to create a special item called a skin equip point, or an equip point skinned. And we're just going to set that as 0, 0. The equip point is going to be named skin, no store point, and Natalie will be the bone source as well as the default skin. So in order to do this now, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to bring in another Natalie, okay, because she's going to be one of the items that we can switch to. We're going to unpack. And if the bones were going to change, which they sometimes can, we could do a skinned bone remapper and automatically map. But in the case of the skins that we're using, we've got the same base skeleton. So all we're going to do is we're just going to delete the base out of this. And actually we won't, sorry. But what we will do is we're going to drag just this down into new prefab. So we're going to create a new folder called skins. We're going to bring Natalie on down. Now, if you go and inspect this in Unity now, you're going to see it not render. That's okay. That's expected. It will render once it's attached. So we're going to kill Natalie here, and now we're going to bring in Nathan. Just double check that he's rigged properly. Okay. We'll unpack him. And again, all we've got to do is just drag him down. Okay, so now we can go into the inventory DB. And we're going to use the skins category. We'll call it armor. Can't drop it. We will display it in the list. Can't stack. You can equip. No storing. So the first one is going to be Natalie. Always equip. And it's going to equip to skin. No animator changes. No UI. Okay. No attachments or repair. We're not going to automatically create anything. Okay, so we will create and add that. And we'll just do a skins for both. Okay. So we've created that, and we're actually just going to, the fastest way for this one is just going to be to duplicate it, Nathan's skin, and we'll drag in Nathan instead of Natalie. So now in the player, what we're going to do real quick is we're going to give a starting inventory item of Nathan. And this should show us how skinning changes the character. Okay, so here we can see we now have Nathan instead of Natalie. The difference is we can see no earring, we don't have the hair coming down here, no lipstick, no curly eyelashes, and boots instead of flats. So, and that was sort of an instantaneous thing, not a lot of work to do with that, and you can apply it to just about anything that you want. So I think that will do it for this initial tutorial. I'm going to go through and create the rest of the items, and I will see you back for part 2, where we begin work on the UI.